All right, we got two chairs here. We got the ErgoChair Core and the ErgoChair Pro. I've reviewed both of these chairs already. The Core I just reviewed recently, and the Pro that I'm sitting on right now I reviewed about 6 or 7 months ago at this point. I can't believe it's been that long already. Anyways, I want to put these head to head, considering they're in the same product line at this point. I think it's going to be an interesting comparison. So which one is going to be the better chair? It's the ErgoChair Pro. It's the winner, obviously. It's more expensive, but that doesn't tell the whole story. So let's look at why that might be the case. By the way, I'm going to be giving away one of these chairs, the ErgoChair Core. It is for Canada and US only, and the details are in my other video that are specifically about the review for this chair. So go check that one out if you want to win a free chair. So let's look at the differences of these chairs. And the first one I want to look at, I think it's the most important, and it's kind of begs the question is not which chair is better, but which chair is worth the money? And is the Pro actually worth spending that extra money than the Core? So let's look at it. All right, so we're here on the Autonomous website. This is the Canadian website, so just keep that in mind for the prices. So here we have the ErgoChair Core. It's coming in at $349, and its bigger brother, the ErgoChair Pro, at $559. And let's not look at this. We'll just kind of ignore the ErgoChair Pro Plus, because I mean, it looks like it's in a completely different category, coming in at $800. I just don't want to talk about that too much right now. We're looking at these two chairs. They look like siblings, right? Unlike this one. And holy crap, what is this? $23,000 for a work pod. What is this? What? Oh, you get the cheaper one. Oh, it's okay. It's $1,100 less. That's reasonable. $22,000. That's more what I was expecting. Okay, that makes sense. Sorry, back to the chairs. All right, so keep that in mind when we're talking about these chairs. This here is a difference of over $200. As always, keep in mind, this is particular to me, my experience, my subjective feelings about these chairs. So my height, I'm about 6'1", 6'2", I weigh just over 200 pounds. Like always, we're gonna go from the bottom to the top. First thing we're gonna look at is the castors. Now the castors are actually different, and it seems like both of them are off the shelf. However, the ones on the Pro chair are slightly bigger, coming in at 2 1/4 inches versus the castors on the Core coming in at 1 7/8 inches. And now I haven't had an issue with either chair rolling over the carpet or any hard floor. However, I feel as though that the bigger wheels on the Pro are going to be a bit better when it comes to off-roading. I barely wanted to give a point for this, but the first point goes to the Pro. Next, let's move up a bit. We're gonna look at the height. So there is an actual difference in the height adjustment poles on either of these chairs. I did not expect there to be a difference. And the win is actually going to the Core. And the reason for that is because it actually has farther travel. It has 4 inches of travel versus the 2.5 inches of the Pro. And on top of that, the actual height of the chair, I sit at max with either of these chairs, but the height of the Core chair is higher than the Pro. And while I think it's only between 1 and 2 inches of a difference at its max height, I find that on the Pro, sitting at my desk after using the Core for 2 weeks, it just felt a bit too short. So yeah, that's a point for the Core. Next, let's go straight to the seat cushion itself. And don't mind the disgustingness of this Pro chair. I've had this for I don't know how long now, 7 or 8 months now, and it's looking a little grimy. I'm trying to clean it up so at least in post it doesn't look so disgusting. But easily said, the Pro is a better cushion in my experience. It feels thicker, it's softer, squishier, and more comfortable in general. And having used the Core for 2 weeks and coming directly back to the Pro, I was curious to see what my experience was like. And immediately sitting on it, it felt softer. And now I don't know if that's necessarily having to do with the Pro being worked in, and I've been sitting in this for several months and it's softer, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's actually just a better cushion in my experience. But for me, it's a win for the Pro when it comes to the seat. While we're looking at the seat, let's look at the metal bar, the base, the adjustments, whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called. And there's obviously an immediate difference here. The Core has 2 adjustments. It has seat tilt and has height adjustment. Meanwhile, the Pro has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different adjustments, 4 more than the Core. No, I didn't mean to rhyme there. So the ones that are similar, we've already talked about the one's the height. okay? And that was a win for the core. The tilt, the seat tilt, very basic. You flip the thing, and you get to do the thing. And to be honest, that's a wash for me. But that being said, I think I have to give a point to the Pro here for having all of these extra adjustments. It has a seat forward and back. It has the windy thingy, and that just lets you adjust the spring tension in the back. It has a dedicated back tilt, so you can adjust the back tilt further. And it also has a seat tilt, so you can actually physically tilt the seat itself. So with all those extra bells and whistles, that's definitely a point for the Pro. But that's not the end of the story there. There is something that the Core does that the Pro doesn't have. And if you had seen my review specifically on the Core, you'll notice that that's a win. And it's something I really like. And that is the leg rest. The leg rest on the Core is an absolute win with this chair. If you're gonna buy the Core, get the leg rest. You need the leg rest. It's great. I love the leg rest. It's a simple thing. It pulls out. It's out of the way when you don't need it. When you want to lounge back and relax, it's fantastic, and it's sad that the Pro doesn't have it. It's a point for the Core. All right, the last thing that's really on the seats itself are the armrests. Now, the armrests here are an interesting case because they are quite different in a way. If we start looking at the Core, they're very simple. I do like the squishiness of the actual armrests themselves on this one. They're adjustable with height, and they're not too big. In fact, they're quite a bit smaller side by side when you look at the Pro versus the Core, but I haven't actually had that been an issue for me. So that wasn't a big problem. The thing is, the plushiness and the squishiness of the Core, I like better than what's on the Pro. The Pro's quite hard. But if you actually look at the Pro, it is bigger. Maybe that may be a win for some people, but not for me particularly. But it is adjustable with height, but also in other directions as well. Now, I feel like there's a happy medium that could be here, and it's not there. And they can make a much better armrest. Now, I don't like the fact that this on the Pro can move from side to side, forward and back. I wish it was rigid. I wish it stayed this size, but I wish it had the plushiness of the Core. So with that being said, I think I have to go with it's gonna be a tie when it comes to the armrest here. All right, next we're moving to the backs of the seats. And the backs of the seats are very similar. The material, that mesh material, is very similar on either one. They both kind of slightly rough, but hey, they keep you cool. They feel supportive, they're bouncy, they're comfortable. And both of them, honestly, I can't feel a difference on either of them when it comes to the back itself. So that's a wash. But what's not a wash is going to be the actual lumbar support, because the lumbar support on either of these is very different. I mean, just looking at the backs of the chairs, they're quite different. So if we actually look at the lumbar support of the Core, it's this concave piece of plastic that can be moved up and down and just kind of stays in that position by its own accord. And like I've said before, it might fall down on its own, which is a concern. However, if you look at what's on the Pro, it's actually it's a pillow, and it is convex more than it is concave. At least that's what it feels like to me. And it just puts more pressure on my back in a way that makes it feel more comfortable. So that's been my experience with the Core versus the Pro, is that the lumbar support is better on the Pro. And not only do I feel like it just feels better, and it feels like it's supporting me more, but it actually can lock in place with, you can hear it, and it doesn't, it takes a little bit of force to actually move the thing in the first place. So I'm confident it's gonna stay there. I'm not gonna have to worry about adjusting it. So the lumbar support is a point for the Pro. There's something else that I think I was missing there, talking about the back and the way it's supporting you, and that's the fact that the Core doesn't quite sit as upright as I personally would like it. Now, if you look at a side by side here, you can see that on the Pro, I can sit much more forward than I can on the Core. And the Core just doesn't push my back far up enough. And that's been the one thing that I feel like would make this a really prime chair. If that could be fixed, that'd be a huge deal. So I have to give the ergonomic posture point to the Pro. And coming up to the top here, we have the headrests. Headrests are very similar. They're both made of that similar mesh material, but the difference is the actual shape of the headrest itself and the actual cage and rim around it. As you'll notice on the Core, it has it's not as rounded as it is on the Pro. The Pro, it's very round, almost circular. And what that actually does, at least in my experience, is it keeps a pretty uniform pressure along the mesh and gives you uniform support along the mesh. Meanwhile, on the actual core, there's a tight spot there. And while some people might find that comfortable, for me, I found it to be a bit too tight in one spot and it didn't quite feel right. It's not bad per se, it's just a bit different and doesn't hit the spot as well as the Pro does. So that's a point for the Pro. So I think I've highlighted a few issues with either of these chairs, but they both share something in common, and that's the fact they have this wobble. And I'm not sure it's necessarily a seat wobble, but it seems like the actual back is loose inside the carriage where it connects on either of these. And when you lean forward and back on either of these chairs, you'll notice there's some kind of rocking in there. And while they both have it, it's actually worse on the Pro. And I think the reason for this is because it's actually doing that in multiple areas. For example, one thing that the Pro has that the Core doesn't is that dedicated seat tilt. And there's looseness in that as well as in the back. So with all this extra complexity that comes with the Pro, all that extra adjustability, you also get extra complications, and that leads to the chair feeling more unstable. Just overall, like going from side to side, you can feel the flex, forward and back, it's all over the place. Now, to be quite frank with you, after using the chair for a while, and after getting over that kind of honeymoon period where you're very scrutinizing of the product you bought, I don't notice it at all. I really don't. But it's something to keep in mind when you're thinking about either of these chairs. It might bug you enough to just irritate you all the time that it's distracting. And that's what you don't want out of a chair that's supposed to be ergonomic. So that being said, I feel like I have to give a negative point to the Pro there. So it's clear that the Pro is the winner there. We already knew that. Overall, I think the Pro is a more comfortable chair. It's something I want to sit in more than I would like to sit in the Core. But I have to answer that question. Is it really worth that extra money? And that's a really hard one to answer. It's very subjective what you want to spend your money on and how much you're willing to spend. Because if I was given the choice between either of these two chairs, and I didn't have to pay a penny, I would take the Pro, obviously. However, if I was spending my own money, this is my perspective on it, if I was spending my own money at full price, I would probably get the Core. And that's not an easy decision. That's not like an easy choice there. They're like, the Pro is better. The Pro is better. But is it $200 better? Hard to say. I'm gonna say no. So I hope this comparison has been helpful. If you have any more questions, just leave them in the comments. I check my comments quite frequently, so I'll get back to you as soon as I can if you have any specific questions about either of these chairs. And again, if you want one of these chairs, if you want a free Core chair, go to that review for the Core chair of mine. The details are in the video, and you can get a chance at getting one of these. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. This has been Tech Illiterate. My name is Nick. Thanks for watching. 1, 2, check, 1, 2. All right. Sinking into it. And now pick a chair. Pick a chair. You want that one? You want this one? Which one? That one? Okay, you chose. That's a good one.